You ever wake up thinking your biggest problem that day is getting a good coat of stain on your new deck, only to realize about halfway through that you're about to start a war with a woman who practically thinks she runs the entire zip code? Yeah, that's how it all kicked off. I was just minding my business, brush in hand, with stain under my nails, when here comes Eliza Anderson, the self-proclaimed queen of our HOA, part-time newsletter dictator, full-time neighborhood menace. Marching down the sidewalk with that look in her, I like she's about to audit my soul. You could see her sizing up my work, arms crossed, her face set like she just smelled something rotten. "Oh, well, that deck looks suspicious," she called out, voice syrupy sweet, the kind of tone that's only ever used to serve up trouble with a smile. I set the brush down, wiped my hands, told her, plain as day, permits were pulled, everything by the book. She dropped her sunglasses down her nose, gave me that death stare, and said, "We'll see what the city has to say about that." And just like that, I knew my peaceful afternoon was done for. This was classic Eliza. Last month, it was wind chimes. Before that, it was some poor kid's lemonade stand. Her favorite pastime was making up rules just to flex a little power. Next morning, right on cue, white city truck rolls up, tired-looking inspector hops out, coffee in one hand, clipboard in the other. "You Oliver Dawson?" he asks. "Yep, here for the deck, I bet." He laughs, shakes his head. "HOA says it's unapproved. Gotta take a look." I handed him a folder. Permits, signed, stamped, color-coded. He looked through everything, walked the perimeter, checked the joists, measured, inspected. 15 minutes later, he actually looked impressed. "Honestly," he said, "better than most I see." I thanked him, glanced down the street, and, well, speak of the devil. There's Eliza, lurking 2 houses down, arms folded like she's warding off evil spirits. The inspector followed my gaze, then leaned in a bit, lowering his voice. "She the one who called this in?" I nodded. He sighed, then smirked. "Funny thing," he said, "I passed her place earlier, noticed a second-floor sunroom. No permits on file. None at all." I stared at him. "You sure?" He showed me on his tablet. Searched the address, triple-checked. That addition wasn't legal. I couldn't help it. I started grinning. "So what happens now?" I asked. He shrugged, but the look he gave me said everything. "I'll be paying her a visit after this." I just about floated back inside. That afternoon, sure enough, I saw it. A big orange tag taped across the glass on Eliza's precious sunroom. Bright as a slap, waving in the breeze. She caught me looking, and in seconds she stormed across the lawn, heels digging into the grass. "You think you're clever?" she hissed, stopping just at my property line. "I think the city inspector is thorough," I said, grinning. She tried to say her sunroom was grandfathered in. Years old, perfectly legit. I told her, "Then I'm sure the city will be happy to see proof." She dropped her voice even lower, like she was letting me in on a dark secret. "You don't know how this works, Oliver. You're new. There are expectations." I shot back, like following the law. She didn't like that, not one bit. She just turned, stalked off, her heels hitting the sidewalk like a judge's gavel. Back inside, I pulled out my thick folder of HOA bylaws. Didn't think I'd need it so soon, but if Eliza wanted a fight, I was more than ready. That night, I made a couple calls, zoning department, county records, even a buddy from law school who knows municipal code like the back of his hand. By the time I turned in, I had everything, original blueprints for Eliza's house, no second floor anything, a written statement from zoning that no permits had ever been issued for an addition, and a tip from my lawyer friend, look into how the HOA spends its money. Next morning, I went straight to the county clerk's office, asked for the HOA's financial disclosures. Lady at the counter, Barbara, rolled her eyes. "Eliza Anderson again? She's tried to block residents from these 3 times this year." Apparently, that wasn't legal, but Eliza sure tried. Barbara handed me a fat folder. Wish me luck. I took it home, started digging. Didn't take long. Over the past 5 years, tens of thousands billed to Anderson Property Solutions. Quick online check. Company registered to Eliza's husband. Then I found a $9,200 leadership bonus labeled as administrative fee. No record of any vote or meeting notes approving it. I started cross-referencing, printing out copies, highlighting everything that smelled off. By the time I finished, I had a binder so thick it could have stopped a bullet. That evening, I took it to my neighbor Ken, a retired firefighter, sharp as a tack, voice like a bullhorn. I told him what I'd found. He said, "You're not the first to wonder about the HOA. Come on in." Within an hour, his living room was packed with neighbors. Folks fined for dumb stuff. Folks whose maintenance requests got ignored. Folks threatened with liens over grass being too tall. I passed the binder around. When Ken saw the payments to Anderson Property Solutions, he let out a whistle. Her husband's company? That's a conflict if I ever saw one. Marta, a nurse from down the street, pointed out the clubhouse roof charges. Contractor paid, work never done, still a tarp flapping in the wind. We decided, next HOA meeting, we were bringing the receipts. I filed a formal request to add our issue to the agenda. Couldn't be denied under the bylaws, but Eliza still tried. 2 days before the meeting, a letter arrived and signed on HOA letterhead. Meeting postponed due to unforeseen conflicts. I checked with the community center. Nope, reservation's still good. I printed that email and brought it along just in case. Wednesday night, the community center was packed. More folks than I'd seen at any HOA meeting since moving in. Eliza strolled in late, flanked by board members who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. She started her speech, but I cut her off, standing up. The meeting was never officially postponed. Venue confirmed. She looked rattled, but had no choice but to move forward. I walked up, dropped my binder on the table, and introduced myself. For the next 15 minutes, I laid out everything. Payments, bonuses, missing project funds, all backed up by documents and city records. By the time I was done, the room was buzzing. Eliza looked like she'd aged a decade in 15 minutes. Ken got up, told his story about a fine for a cracked sidewalk that never got fixed. Marta explained how she was threatened for asking why her flower bed wasn't compliant. Roger, an accountant neighbor, chimed in, said the HOA reserves were shrinking every year, even as dues kept going up. Eliza tried to regain control, but that's when a new voice cut in from the back. "Ma'am, I'm Detective Harris, County Fraud Division. We received complaints about financial irregularities. There'll be a formal investigation." You could hear a pin drop. Harris recommended an oversight committee. Ken nominated me, and suddenly my debt project had turned into something much, much bigger. The next week, our neighborhood was buzzing. Cops parked outside Eliza's house, detectives hauling boxes in and out, neighbors peeking through curtains. Our committee started digging into the records, and it got uglier by the day. Marta found a tree trimming invoice for $6,000. The work hadn't even been done in our neighborhood. Roger traced wire transfers, matching bogus invoices straight into a private account. We compiled it all, backed up every file 3 times. Paranoid? Maybe. But after what we'd seen, you couldn't be too careful. Soon enough, subpoenas were flying, the DA's office got involved, and Eliza's reign was in freefall. Then came her Hail Mary letter to every mailbox, blaming misinformation and bureaucracy for the unrest. No apology, just more veiled threats. Didn't matter. A few days later, a court order froze every HOA bank account. No more payouts, no more fines, no newsletters. For the first time in years, the neighborhood went quiet. Folks noticed. Paul from 2 doors down joked, "Guess we'll survive without hedge trimming tips." Then came the real fireworks. Late afternoon, a string of unmarked cars pulled up. Eliza, in handcuffs, led away as half the neighborhood peeked from behind hedges. Charges: felony embezzlement, wire fraud, obstruction. Prosecutor gave a press conference the next day, laying out the evidence. Fake vendors, illegal bonuses, altered records. Vendors who hadn't been paid showed up. Old board members started talking. Class action lawsuits rolled in. I was asked to join, but I passed. I just wanted the neighborhood fixed. We rewrote the charter. Board term limits. 2 signatures for all payments. Quarterly financial disclosures. No more secret meetings. No more unchecked power. Marta joined the new board. Roger became treasurer. Ken stayed on as advisor. I finished my deck, sat out with a lemonade one evening as the sun dipped behind the rooftops. Felt like a fresh start. One night, Detective Harris stopped by. "You did good work," he said. "We don't see many folks actually follow through like this." I told him I just got tired of being pushed around. He smiled, said Eliza would probably serve time, maybe not as much as deserved, but enough to send a message. "You know how rare it is to see a neighborhood actually recover?" he asked, glancing out at the quiet street. "We're getting there," I said, and I meant it. The deck, my original project, stood solid, even as everything else changed. Funny how the thing Eliza tried to use against me ended up being the star of her own downfall. First meeting under new leadership, we ditched the podium, set up the chairs in a big circle, neighbors talking like equals. Marta stood, shared a new finding. Turns out that inspector who signed off Eliza's sunroom had been retired for years. He'd kept his login, kept issuing permits, under the table for a price. The DA added conspiracy charges, and the city scheduled Eliza's sunroom for demolition. Watching the crew peel away that addition, quiet, professional, no drama, I felt something like closure. Her house sat dark and empty, blinds drawn, her husband gone, the whole place up for sale by a foreclosure specialist. As the last beam came down, Ken stood next to me. "Ever think a deck would lead to all this?" I laughed. "Honestly, I just wanted a place to sit in the evenings." He handed me a letter, petition signed by 50 neighbors, asking me to join the city's neighborhood planning committee. I didn't say yes right away, but that night, sitting on my deck, watching porch lights come on up and down the street, hearing kids play, smelling someone grilling 2 houses down, I realized the neighborhood was finally turning into the place people wanted it to be. Eventually, I accepted the nomination. Not long after, word came down, Eliza took a plea deal, helped indict the inspector and a couple ex-board members in exchange for house arrest and restitution payments. The money went to the HOA, now managed by a third-party accounting firm, every cent tracked and disclosed. The mailboxes that used to carry threats and fines now had newsletters about community events, scholarships, free tree trimming. At the next meeting, Marta handed out certificates of appreciation, just printer paper, nothing fancy. Roger got one, King got one, I got one too. I didn't hang it up. I stuck it in a drawer near the front door. Not because I didn't care, but because the real reward was the peace, the normalcy, the absence of that constant tension we'd all gotten so used to. A little while later, as I was fixing up a loose board on the deck, a new neighbor walked by, dog in tow. "You're Oliver, right?" They said if I wanted to know the real history, I should talk to you. I just smiled, told her it wasn't all bad, just a few chapters that needed rewriting. She thanked me, said people actually wave at each other now, then walked on. I sat down, sun on my back, feeling the deck solid beneath me. After everything, it held up, and so did we. Now let me toss this out to you. Where do you draw the line between protecting a neighborhood and just plain abusing power? You ever dealt with an HOA nightmare? Or a bossy neighbor who got what was coming to them? Drop your story or your thoughts below. Let's see who's really got the wildest HOA tale, or maybe the best comeback.